Laura Kuenssberg was forced to cancel her interview with Boris Johnson, which would have been screened this week, after deciding it would not be right to proceed. She said she had accidentally emailed her briefing notes to the former Prime Minister when she'd intended to send them to her team. Carol Vorderman has now urged the BBC to stop wasting taxpayers' cash and to replace Laura with Victoria Derbyshire. It's not the first time that LBC radio host Carol has made that suggestion, and she doubled down on her original claims when she took to Twitter, X, this week. Laura Kuenssberg #BBC Laurak has cocked up and compromised herself with the potential Boris Johnson interview, she wrote. So at BBC, stop wasting more licence fee money, and let the superlative Victoria Derbyshire do it instead. Her notes would be immensely different, I'm sure, she declared. Victoria had her own current affairs programme which was broadcast on BBC Two and BBC News up until 2020, while she has also presented Newsnight and Panorama. She called for her to replace Laura on a previous occasion back in July, when she led a backlash against her alleged impartiality against Ed Davey following the election results. Laura had opened her interview with him by stating, "This election made history for all sorts of reasons, and when you put the votes together, the smaller parties got their highest ever share of the votes." She continued, "Maybe it was the bungee jumping, or maybe given that the Liberal Democrats want to change the voting system, ironically perhaps they just learned how to play it better by ruthlessly targeting seats where the Conservatives had held them." Laura went on to introduce Ed Davey with the words, "Congratulations, I suppose, on your more than 70 seats. A furious backlash began from those who accused her of being rude, opinionated and biased over her none too subtle swipe at the system, with many feelings shared implied Davies didn't deserve to be there. Carol referred to her use of the words "I suppose" as quite extraordinary and argued, "Time for #BBC Laurak to become #BBC Victoria D, don't you think? Vic D is exceptional and gives them all a hard time if that is what's needed. She knows her detail and cuts through with any bias. BBC is lucky to have her." More recently, Laura disappointed some when she cancelled the exclusive interview with Boris Johnson, which would have been his first since leaving Downing Street after the furore regarding his handling of the lockdown. She clarified, "While prepping to interview Boris Johnson tomorrow, by mistake I sent our briefing notes to him in a message meant for my team. That obviously means it's not right for the interview to go ahead. It's very frustrating, and there's no point pretending it's anything other than embarrassing and disappointing, as there are plenty of important questions to be asked." She concluded, "Red faces aside, honesty is the best policy."